Have you ever seen like somebody doing something so incredibly well and just kind of been like, whoa, how they get so good?
Yeah.
Whether it's a musician or a chef or even just someone who seems to like just crush it in their career,
Mm,
there's this almost magical aura around mastery,
right. It's so easy to think, oh, they're just naturally talented or they just got lucky.
right?
But what if I told you there's this philosophy from Japan that's like 700 years old
Okay.
that breaks mastery down into like a step-by-step path?
All right. I'm intrigued. 700 years old, you say.
Yeah.
What's the secret?
It's called Geidō. And what's fascinating is that it was originally developed around like traditional Japanese arts like calligraphy or tea ceremony. But the principles apply to pretty much anything you want to master.
So whether you're going for a black belt in karate
Hmm.
or, want to be the next CEO, this Gaidu thing could be like their roadmap.
Exactly. And the best part is it demystifies mastery.
Okay.
It shows you it's not about like being born special, but it's about a process anyone can follow.
So where do we even begin on this like 700-year-old path to awesomeness?
So, Gaidyu is all about understanding the journey, right? And it's broken down into these three distinct stages.
Okay.
And the first one might seem a little daunting, but it really sets the foundation for everything that follows.
Okay, lay it on us.
This initial stage is all about embracing the long game.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that true mastery doesn't happen overnight. We're talking years, sometimes even decades of dedicated, consistent practice.
So no shortcuts, no magic formulas, just good old-fashioned hard work.
Pretty much, yeah. And this is where a lot of people kind of get tripped up. They
Yeah.
want to see like immediate results, and when they don't, they get discouraged and they quit. But the people who stick with it, the ones who understand that mastery is a marathon, not a sprint,
Right.
those are the ones who eventually achieve that like seemingly effortless expertise.
Okay. I'm starting to see why this stage is so crucial. It's about building that solid foundation, that unwavering commitment.
Mm.
But how do you stay motivated for years on end? It can't just be like grinding it out, right?
Yeah. Right. Well, that's where the second stage comes in, and it's maybe the most counterintuitive one.
Okay.
We call it swallow your ego and copy the masters.
Now, hold on a second, copy. Doesn't that sound a little unoriginal?
It might seem that way at first glance,
Yeah.
but think about it like this, even the greatest artists, musicians, athletes,
Mm,
they all started by studying the work of those who came before them, you know?
right.
They immersed themselves in the techniques, the styles, the approaches of the masters.
So it's not about blindly copying, but it's about deconstructing like what makes the greats so great and absorbing that wisdom.
Precisely. And this stage requires a lot of humility.
Sure.
It's about setting aside your ego, your desire to be original right away, and just focusing on learning from the best.
And this is where mentorship comes in, right? Having someone who's already achieved mastery kind of guiding you along the way.
Absolutely. A mentor can provide invaluable insights, personalized feedback, and that all-important encouragement when things get tough.
Mhm.
But even beyond like formal mentorship, this stage is about being a student, constantly seeking knowledge and inspiration from those who've already walked the path you're on.
Okay, so we've got the foundation of commitment, the humility to learn from the best. What's the final stage in this Gaidu journey? What happens once we've spent years honing our skills?
This is where things get really interesting. The final stage is what we call break the rules strategically.
Now we're talking.
Mm.
So after all that discipline and study, we finally get to unleash our inner rebel.
In a way, yeah, but it's not about just throwing out the rule book.
Let's
It's
play it.
about reaching a level of understanding where you can like bend the rules, innovate, and push the boundaries of your craft in a way that just wouldn't have been possible without the mastery that you've developed.
So it's like you've learned all the traditional techniques in painting, and now you're ready to experiment with abstract art?
Right.
Or you've mastered like classic culinary arts, and now you're creating innovative fusion dishes.
Exactly. This stage is where true creativity kind of flourishes, but it's only possible because of that deep understanding of the fundamentals that you've built in those previous stages.
So it's not about being reckless. It's about strategically innovating, building upon that foundation of mastery. I'm starting to see how this whole Gaidu philosophy comes together.
And the beauty of it is it's not limited to just like artistic pursuits.
Right.
These same principles, they can be applied to your career, your personal development, really anything you want to master.
That's a great point.
Mhm.
So how do we take these like ancient principles and apply them to something like, say, climbing the corporate ladder or launching a successful business?
Well, we can start by looking at how that first stage of Gaidu, that commitment to the long game, translates into the world of work.
All right, let's dive into that.
Yeah.
How does embrace the long game play out in a career setting?
Well, I think one of the biggest misconceptions in like today's work culture is this whole idea of overnight success.
Right.
We see these headlines about like, 22-year-old entrepreneurs making millions or, people landing their dream jobs right out of college.
Uh-huh.
And it creates this illusion that success is just about, being in the right place at the right time.
Totally. It's like social media, right?
Ugh.
Everyone's curating this highlight reel of their life,
Yeah.
making it seem like they have it all figured out,
Right.
which can be super discouraging.
Absolutely. But what we don't see are the years of hard work, the countless hours of practice, the setbacks, the failures
Right.
that pave the way for those successes.
Mm.
And that's where Geidō's like embrace the long game principle comes in.
Okay.
It's about understanding that true career success, the kind that's sustainable and fulfilling, is built on this foundation of like consistent effort and dedication, even when you're not seeing those immediate results.
So no matter what field you're in, whether you're just starting out or you're feeling stuck in your current role, the key is to shift that mindset away from these quick fixes and really focus on playing the long game. But how do you actually do that? It's easy to say be patient, but it's a lot harder to put it into practice.
Right. Well, that's where like setting clear goals and breaking them down into smaller, more manageable steps becomes so crucial.
Okay.
Think of it like training for a marathon. You wouldn't expect to run 26 miles on your first day, right?
Right.
You start with shorter distances and gradually increase your mileage over time.
So instead of getting overwhelmed by this massive goal of career success, it's about focusing on those like daily actions, those small wins that eventually add up to something huge.
Absolutely. It could be as simple as, committing to learning one new skill each week or taking on a challenging project or even just like consistently showing up and exceeding expectations in your current role. It's about proving to yourself and to others that you're dedicated and reliable and always looking for ways to grow.
This reminds me of something I read about compound interest.
Yes.
How these like small, consistent investments over time can lead to some really big gains in the long run. It seems like that same principle applies to our careers as well.
It absolutely does. And just like with investing, the earlier you start embracing this long-term mindset, the more you benefit from that compounding effect.
Okay, so we've embraced the long game, we're putting in the work.
Yeah.
I'm guessing there's more to Geidō's career wisdom than just grinding it out.
Right.
Where does that swallow your ego and copy the master stage fit in all of this?
Well, think about it this way. In any field, there are people who've already achieved the level of success that you aspire to.
Right.
They've navigated the challenges, they've learned the ropes, they've figured out what works. So wouldn't it make sense to learn from their experience?
Okay, so that's where finding a mentor comes in, right?
Yeah.
Someone who can kind of guide you and share their insights.
Yeah. Yes, mentorship is so valuable, having someone who's been there, done that, who can offer you advice and support tailored to your specific situation. I mean, that can be a total game changer,
Yeah.
but it's not just about finding the right mentor.
Right.
It's also about being a good mentee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does that look like? How can someone make the most of a mentorship relationship?
It's about being proactive, coming prepared with, thoughtful questions, being open to feedback, even if it's hard to hear, and most importantly, being willing to actually put their advice into action.
Yeah.
A mentor can offer guidance, but ultimately it's up to the individual to put in the work.
And even if you don't have like a formal mentor, there's still ways to apply that swallow your ego principle, right?
Absolutely. I mean, think about all the resources that are available to us today: books, podcasts, online courses, industry events. There's this wealth of knowledge out there from people who are at the top of their game. So it's really about being a student of your craft,
Yeah.
constantly seeking out information and inspiration from people who are ahead of you.
So it's like you're a sponge,
Yeah,
absorbing all this wisdom and experience.
exactly.
But doesn't this go against like being original and forging your own path?
It might seem that way, but actually it's quite the opposite.
Okay.
By immersing yourself in the work of others, by studying their approaches and understanding their decision-making processes, you're actually building a foundation for your own unique style to emerge.
It's like saying imitation is the sincerest form of flattery,
Right.
but eventually you want to go beyond just imitation and create something truly your own.
Exactly. And that's where that final stage of Geidō comes in.
Okay.
The break the rules strategically stage. But remember, this isn't about rebelling just for the sake of rebelling. It's about reaching a level of mastery where you understand those rules so deeply that you can see where they can be bent or broken or even like rewritten altogether.
So it's not about throwing out everything you've learned and starting from scratch.
Right.
It's about using that deep understanding to create something new and groundbreaking.
Think about it like this. Imagine a chef who's spent years mastering like classical French cuisine.
Okay.
They understand the techniques, the ingredients, all the principles that make those dishes so exquisite.
Yeah.
But now imagine that same chef decides to experiment with like fusion cuisine,
Okay.
incorporating flavors and techniques from, different cultures.
Right.
Because of their deep understanding of French cuisine, they can create something totally new and exciting, something that builds upon the traditional, but also like pushes those culinary boundaries.
That's a delicious analogy.
Right.
And we see this in other fields too, right? Like
Yeah.
tech entrepreneurs who disrupt entire industries by applying existing technology in these really innovative ways.
Absolutely. Think about someone like Elon Musk. I mean, he didn't invent electric cars or rockets,
Right.
but he revolutionized those industries by applying existing technologies in these like bold new ways.
Yeah.
And he was able to do that because he had this deep understanding of the underlying principles, the engineering, the physics, the market forces at play.
So it's not just about having like a brilliant idea. It's also about having the knowledge and skills to execute that idea effectively, to turn it into something truly impactful.
Precisely. And that's the essence of Gaiju's Break the Rules strategically stage.
Mm.
It's about finding that sweet spot where mastery meets innovation, where deep understanding fuels that creative disruption.
I love how this ancient philosophy is so relevant,
Mhm.
to navigating today's world. It's
Yeah.
not just about like becoming skilled in a particular craft. It's about developing this mindset
Yeah.
and approach to learning and growth that can be applied to anything.
And that's what makes Gaidi so powerful.
No.
It's not a rigid set of rules. It's more like a guiding philosophy,
Okay.
a way of approaching mastery that emphasizes patience, humility, and strategic innovation.
So for someone out there, embarking on their own journey of mastery, whether it's their career, a hobby, or anything else,
Right.
what are some key takeaways that they should keep in mind?
Well, first and foremost, remember that mastery is a journey, not a destination. It's about embracing the process, with all its ups and downs.
Yeah.
Knowing that, true expertise takes time and dedication.
It's about those small, consistent steps, those daily efforts that, compound over time and lead to significant growth.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to seek out guidance from people who've already achieved what you're aiming for.
Yeah.
Find mentors, study the work of the masters, immerse yourself in the knowledge and experience of those who are ahead of you.
Embrace that swallow your ego mentality, right?
Right.
Knowing that learning from others is not a weakness, it's a sign of wisdom.
Exactly.
And then once you've built that solid foundation, once you've truly mastered those fundamentals, then you can start to think about, okay, how do I push the boundaries?
Mm-hmm.
How do I innovate? How do I bring my unique perspective and skills to the table?
Right. It's a journey from novice to master, from follower to leader, from imitator to innovator.
And Geidō provides the roadmap for that journey.
And as you're going through this journey, remember to celebrate those small wins along the way.
Yeah.
Acknowledge your progress and never lose sight of the joy and the fulfillment that comes from pursuing mastery.
It's not just about reaching the destination, it's about enjoying the journey.
Well said. So as you continue on your own path of mastery, remember this wisdom from Geidō.
Okay.
Embrace the long game, swallow your ego, and learn from the best, and when the time is right, break the rules strategically.
And who knows, maybe someday you'll be the one inspiring others with your incredible skills and expertise. Until next time, keep diving deep.